Hey, good morning, guys. Behind me is my 95 Vulcan. Today I'm going to swap out my front brake pads. So I've lifted the front wheel of this vehicle into the air, just the front vehicle only, with the jack suspended from the ceiling. And I want to show you the run out. There's a single rotor on this vehicle. I'll take you over to the other side. And there are only 17,000 miles on this, so not surprisingly there isn't much problem with either side of the rotor. But I've got a little bit of a run out problem, not so much to cause any symptom, but enough to raise the question as to whether or not I should be replacing the rotor as well. I did look into the cost of a rotor for this vehicle. A rotor is about $340, which is way more expensive than I want to pay for something that's not giving me any problem. Okay, so this is probably the best view I can give you. You can just see I've got a little bit of a run out. Not enough to cause any particular sensation while riding, but it's not quite flat. And so my question is, do I accept the fact it's subtly out of balance, or do I pay $340 some odd to get a new rotor? I'm going to go without. I'm just going to put in the pads, see how it works after that, and then we'll watch that carefully. Of course, these are hydraulic disc brakes. Just a little bit of anatomy first. This is the hydraulic brake line with the banjo bolt. This is my bleeder screwed. These are the two sliders, and these are the two caliper mounting bolts. So I'm going to remove these two first. We'll lift the caliper out of the way and remove the old brake pads. These are 12 millimeter bolts. Now after I undo these two bolts, I'm going to lift it off, but you're not supposed to hang it off of the brake line, and I see this hook is holding me up, so I won't be able to move it after I get it off. And so I'm going to remove this mounting bracket to just make it a little easier for me to move the caliper to the side on a little support so it doesn't have to hang on its own weight. So here are my two pads. Now, the first one comes out like so. And then the second one, I'm just going to pry this back until it clears the slider. Okay, we'll just squeeze this here and slide this out. Okay, here we are. Here are the old pads and the new pads, and they look identical. You can see it was getting very close to being too late to change them. And then coming over here, let's look at the caliper a little closer. Now these calipers have sliders, and it's critical that they slide well. And so you can see it, they slide really well. If I had trouble with the sliders, if I thought they were seizing in some way, I could take these little boots off here and here and then relube them with high temperature grease. Special kind of grease, not the typical kind, because these calipers have a really high temperature when they're overused. Some people prefer silicone paste, but in any case, I don't think these sliders need any work because they're sliding very nicely. And so now we've got these metal clips in here, and the metal clips, I'm going to put a little dab of anti-seize on the metal clips where they rub, just to try and prevent any binding there. We'll clean it all up and be ready to go. The piston itself is fine. It doesn't appear to be leaking in any way. Okay, so there's that one clip. I'll make sure we put that back in the right orientation. This is just a little dab of anti-seize, and just putting it on the metal contact points, not anywhere near where the brake shoe would actually be contacting. Okay, now conventionally you use a little bit of this brake quiet on the outside aspect of the pad. Now the inside is the part that contacts the caliper, and you need to be 100% sure that you don't put it on the wrong side. This goes just a little bit on the outside of the caliper. And the goal behind doing this is to try and prevent it from chattering. Ideally you want to let this sit for about 20 minutes so it sits up before it gets squeezed in by the caliper. I'll do that on each side. There. Okay, I'm going to do the inner one first, like so. So now we have to compress the wheel cylinder to compensate for the bigger size of the pads. And so to do that, I'm going to squeeze in the cylinder here. I don't have to squeeze it in too much, but I'm just going to squeeze it in a bit. There we are. That should be enough room to allow us to get that second brake pad in. So let's do that now. Here's our second brake pad. It's going to slide in there. Like so. Okay, so next we want to slide the caliper back on. I think I've given myself enough room there between the two pads to be able to slide it on the caliper without too much problem. So let's try that now. Here's the other. I'm a little surprised. The torque spec on these caliper mounting bolts is only 25 foot-pounds. There's no mention of it being called for Loctite or anything else, and there was no Loctite on these mounting bolts initially. Now on with the last little bracket, and then we have to pump up the brakes and we'll be done. So never forget that you got to pump up these brakes before you start, and of course we're going to do a little test drive and make sure everything is okay. With a motorcycle you've got two sets of brakes that are independent of each other, but still, it'd be an awful shock to roll out of the vehicle, roll out of the garage, and realize that you don't have any brakes. Well, the test drive went fine, and the repair is done. I should mention that off camera, I did check the fluid MC level both before and after I did the repair, and as expected, the fluid level was a little low when we started, and came up into the normal range after the new pads were installed. One thing I'd like to emphasize, if you're teaching yourself automotives, you need to read widely and never trust or rely on one source for all your information. So if this video helped you out and you want to see more of them, hit the subscribe or the like button, or leave a comment to make it easier for others to find. Thanks for watching.